India is not worried about Turkey alone. It is worried when Bangladesh moved closer to China. It was worried when Nepal pushed back against Indian pressure. It was worried when Sri Lanka welcomed new partners. The question is not what these countries are doing. The question is why India increasingly sees independent foreign policies as strategic challenges. Because from South Asia to Middle East, a new reality is emerging. Countries are making choices based on their own interests, not India's expectations. I'm Ali Furqan, and you are watching The Pivot. A new front appears to be opening for India. Not in the Himalayas, not in the Indian Ocean, but thousands of kilometers away in West Asia. A country that once played only a limited role in South Asian affairs is now deepening its military, diplomatic, and strategic partnership with Pakistan. That country is Turkey. And today, a debate is growing in India. Is Turkey becoming India's newest adversary? But perhaps that is a wrong question. Because this story is bigger than Turkey and bigger than India. It is about how a changing region is colliding with old geopolitical assumptions. A few days ago, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan delivered a direct message to New Delhi. Let me quote. India should not view its relationship with Turkey through the lens of Turkey's ties with Pakistan. This was the statement by the Turkish Foreign Minister. A simple statement, yet one carrying significant geopolitical implications. Fidan's argument was straightforward. Countries can disagree on some issues while cooperating on others. Turkey has disagreements with Russia. Turkey has disagreement with United States. Turkey has disagreements with several European countries. Yet, diplomatic engagement continues. Trade continues, strategic dialogue continues. So why should Turkey's relationship with Pakistan automatically defines its relationship with India? That question is not just asked in Ankara. Increasingly, it is being asked across the wider region. To understand the controversy, we first need to understand India's concern. Turkey and Pakistan are no longer connected merely through diplomatic rhetoric. Their cooperation is expanding across multiple sectors: military training, defense production, naval cooperation, technology, drone technology, and strategic cooperation. Thousands of military officers of both sides have received training in Turkey and Pakistan over the 2 decades. Two countries continue to deepen cooperation in defense industries. And on Kashmir, Turkey has consistently supported Pakistan's position at international forums. In fact, in every speech of Rajab Tayyip Erdogan at United Nations, Kashmir was highlighted as the major world issue. Taken together, these developments naturally attract attention in New Delhi. Many Indian analysts argue that Turkey is no longer a neutral player in South Asia. Instead, it has emerged as one of Pakistan's most important strategic partners. But this is where the story becomes interesting. Because Turkey insists that friendship with Pakistan does not mean hostility towards India. Relations with Pakistan are one track, relations with India are another. And that raises a much larger question. Why does India often view other countries' relationship through the Pakistan lens? Today, it is Turkey. Yesterday, it was Bangladesh. Before that, Nepal and Sri Lanka. Whenever one of these countries expand engagements with Pakistan or pursues a foreign policy outside New Delhi's expectations, strategic anxiety appears to rise. But why? Should every country shape its foreign policy around India's preferences? Or do sovereign states have the right to pursue their own national interests? There is another reality that deserves attention. South Asia remains one of the least integrated regions in the world. Europe trades across border ASEAN countries to deepen regional cooperation. Gulf states are building common economic projects. But South Asia, trade remains limited, connectivity remains weak, regional cooperation remains largely frozen. SAARC, once envisioned as the foundation of the shared South Asian future, is now largely dormant. For more than 2 decades, regional politics has remained trapped in the shadow of India-Pakistan rivalry. The result? A region with nearly 2 billion people, yet one of the lowest level of regional trade anywhere in the world. But the region is changing. Bangladesh is pursuing a more independent foreign policy. Sri Lanka is seeking partnership based on economic necessity. Nepal continues balancing between competing powers. Gulf states are expanding their footprint in South Asia. Pakistan is strengthening ties with Turkey, China, and Middle Eastern countries. In other words, countries are increasingly prioritizing national interest over permanent alignment. Old geopolitical playbook is being rewritten. And that is why Hakan Fidan's remarks matter. Because they are not really about Turkey and India. They point to a much larger geopolitical shift. Can South Asia move beyond the shadow of old disputes? Can countries stop treating diplomacy as zero-sum game? Can regional relationships be built around mutual interests instead of inherited rivalries? And perhaps, most importantly, can India accept the countries across the region making independent foreign policy choices? Turkey says its relationship with Pakistan is not directed against India. India argues Turkey's actions tell a different story. That debate will continue. Differences will remain. Competing narratives will persist. But perhaps the real story is not Turkey. The real story is a changing geopolitical landscape. Turkey may not be India's enemy, but it is exposing as uncomfortable reality. The era when one country could expect other to align with its preferences is fading. Across South Asia and beyond, states are pursuing their own interests, building their own partnerships, and writing their own foreign policies. The question is not whether Turkey will continue working with Pakistan. Question is whether India can adopt a region where countries increasingly refuse to choose sides. Because in geopolitical landscape, independence is not hostility and partnership is not alignment. I'm Ali Furqan and this was The Pivot.